FYI to everybody, I will be recording this webinar. And then later on, I will post it to YouTube, and the link will be on the LLMC website as well as NYLI. You might be wondering who is talking. My name is Kurt Meyer, and I am Assistant Director of Content Development and Preservation at LLMC. I was a law librarian for a little over a decade before coming on to LLMC, and in my current position, I'm in charge of developing our collections, managing projects, and doing a little outreach like I'm doing today. So we're going to talk about our records and briefs collections, and we'll talk about what LLMC is, how we got into records and briefs, and then of particular interest to this group will be how best to use them, how to efficiently use them, what the coverage is, and what you can use them for. Please feel free to ask me questions in the chat. I did stand-up in-person teaching for many years, so I don't mind being interrupted whatsoever. I have the chat box up on my second screen, so I'll see it right away. So feel free to just fire away with those questions. I do anticipate we'll be done a little early today. My guess is you're all busy, so that will be welcome news. And there will be plenty of time for questions at the end too, if you would like to wait until then. So to access LLMC as a NYLI member, of course, go to the NYLI.org website, and then take your mouse and go to electronic resources, and you will see LLMC Digital listed right here. Once you click on the link, you'll be given a description of the types of things we have, and then you can click on LLMC Digital. As long as you're logged in as a NYLI member, our website will then authenticate your IP address via proxy, and then you'll be taken to LLMC. So here we are. So what exactly is LLMC? We're a little different than perhaps some of the other legal information providers you're used to. We're a nonprofit that was founded in 1976, I believe, a little before my time. And originally the idea was we would take historical rare books, legal books from law libraries throughout the world, and then film them and put them on this stuff called microfiche. For those of you who know what that is, good for you. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's you may have seen it in movies. It's the kind of transparent film that you would put under what kind of looks like a giant microscope, and then read the pages on there. So that's what LLMC did for quite some time. And then in the 90s and 2000s, this thing called the internet happened. And the founder of the company, Jerry DuPont, he was rather prescient, and he kind of skipped this whole awkward phase in legal information where we had CDs, and instead he went straight to the internet. So that was good, and we started, instead of filming books, we started just digitizing them and putting them on this website called LLMC Digital. And now here we are in 2022. So what can you find on our website? Lots of historical things, but we started doing these like special projects not long after we created an online presence, and one of those was records and briefs. So you can browse our content using these features in the online services tab. You can search for titles, but to get to the actual records and briefs, what you're going to want to do is click on the search collections link right over here to the right. And once you do that, you'll be taken to this page. Now, there's an important thing to remember here when searching our records and briefs. We have collections from all over the world. You can see our top level collection trees right here. So like Canada, Germany, the United Kingdom. These are, for the purposes of this webinar, typically books we have scanned. These are physical books we scan and we preserved in print, and those are all in one part of the database. You can search these a variety of ways. You can even search our catalog records. However, as I mentioned before, we have records and briefs collections, which is why you all are here. To search those, you should click on the Records and Briefs tab on this page. If you try to do full text searching over here, you will not be searching our records and briefs. It's possible some one-offs could pop up if you do that, but the records and briefs collections as they exist on their own are all under the Records and Briefs tab. These collections let me think about this. Yes, with well, no exceptions actually, are all done in partnership with a donating library and then the Google Books project. And what typically happens with these collections is there's going to be a donating law library. They donate all of their records and briefs. They create metadata from them, and then they hand those over to Google. Google high-speed scans them and then puts them on Google Books. And then they show up on Google Books. Now, Google is great to work with, and we're super appreciative of the assistance they provide us in doing the actual heavy lifting for the scanning, but they're not a legal information provider. And you can find everything on Google Books that is actually on LLMC, but they don't give you like a separate option for searching by docket number or something like that, because that's just not what they do. You know, Google is about getting this information out there and making it available for things like data mining and just basic searching, but they're not really thinking about how attorneys and law librarians search for legal information when they put it out there. And that's not a negative thing I'm saying at all about them. It's just kind of how it is. And that's where LLMC comes into play. We take the same exact scans and the same exact metadata, and then we create a separate database for it. So people who are used to searching for legal information can actually find it. As you can see, we have a few different collections here. Each one has its quirks and nuances. And I should tell you that that isn't so much a function of us. In one instance it is. But in most of these instances, the differences are the result of the fact that the donating library is creating the metadata for their collection. And they know best in Illinois, for example, what people in the Seventh Circuit kind of tend to want to search off of, or what the strongest, most consistent points of data are for a certain set. You know, we kind of leave it to them to figure that out. And you can see when you scroll through these different databases, these different collections, that the search, you know, how you search actually varies quite a bit depending on what it is. This is probably the biggest difference here is the US Supreme Court appellate cases, which we'll talk about at the end. So the Seventh Circuit collection is actually donated by the University of Illinois Law Library. That's where I went to law school and library school, so I'm very familiar with it. And it's super important that we digitize collections like this, because this happened quite a bit when I worked at that library. Some poor soul, a first-year associate at a local law firm, would come in charged with the task of finding this brief. And typically that situation came up when a partner or managing associate was like, hey, I need some ideas here. I know this case came up. I found an opinion. Where do I find the brief at? Oh, it's in Champaign, Illinois at the law library. Please go over there and find it. And then that person would quickly find out that these were just sitting on a shelf in the basement, organized by docket number, sequentially by docket number, I should say. So They were very commonly misshelved, and once they were shelved out of sequential docket number, they were virtually unfindable, which isn't good because this is important information. They're important historical facts, important information about cases and things of that nature. So let's actually go into one of these collections and see what's there. We'll start off with the Seventh Circuit, excuse me. The coverage right now kind of ranges from the mid 1940s to the 1990s, and anything federal we have will be will cover pre-PACER years. There actually will be more federal collections coming up, but we know that that's where the coverage is needed. So you can search by docket number here. Those of you in federal practice should be able to recognize the docket number pretty easily. Then you can see we've successfully searched for the docket number. And this is nice. We get a case citation that's associated with it. So that's in the Federal Reporter Second. And then we click on the docket number. And then we get to the document itself. And these are super nice scans. They're scanned in color, so you know which side the brief came from, just as you would if you saw it in print. They're very clear. There's a little fading here, so brief I guess looks like brief. Sorry about that. That's just age. But this is the actual brief. You can flip back and forth between the pages up here. You can download the document right from here, zoom in and out. And if the website were cooperating right now, there we go. You could also scroll through the thumbnails here. You also have the option of doing a full text search in this particular brief right from the magnifying glass located on the left. So we'll go back to our Seventh Circuit search page. And I won't do this for every single collection, by the way. This is going to be exemplary for the rest of them to some extent. You can also search by party name. So you can see at one point in time, I searched for Governor Rod Blagojevich. And let's see what comes up. Nothing comes up for Governor Rod, even though he was in court quite a bit. And that is because he didn't come onto the scene until after this database's coverage started. However, you could search for another prominent Illinois politician in the full text search box and see anytime Rostenkowski shows up. And I'm showing this to you so you can see when you get multiple results, you get a lot of information here to help you sort through what you got back and determine what exactly is useful and what isn't. And the University of Illinois really went into a lot of detail here, trying to make sure that they gave you as much information as they possibly could. This was actually done manually. So you're getting case citation, docket number, parties, and then the type of documents. That's really nice. There's an appellate brief, a reply brief, exactly what it is. So you can kind of track things as they happened a little bit easier. This collection is nearly done. I would say in the next several months, the University of Illinois is going to transition to doing Illinois Supreme Court records and briefs, but they wanted the Seventh Circuit out of the way, and I believe they were nearly done on that. It would have been finished had it not been for the pandemic, but that just kind of slowed things down, and then somebody retired there. So they're getting back up to speed, and I hope to say that these are complete in the next 6 months to a year, let's say. Switching gears, let's go west to California. So what is this collection all about? Without going into too much detail, let's say these are all the briefs for California state appellate courts. And these are not done yet. I want to say they're about half done. and they're going to cover like the 1970s and 80s all the way to the late 90s, I believe, when they are finished. But now it's kind of a smattering within that time frame what we actually have. I don't know how many of you do a lot of California legal research. I haven't. I've been Midwest, East Coast my entire career. They've got a lot of courts out there, and they have lots of different kinds of docket numbers. I spent a fair bit of time this morning trying to learn exactly how some of these things were structured in California, and I was rather unsuccessful. But I can show you some things right here. This is a pretty big database. So the docket number search works great. If you have one, just go ahead and punch it in. So I got this from a court opinion. So this is docket number B00082. If I click on that link, it's telling me what type of document it is. Now I can see what court, the Second District Court of Appeals. This number, by the way, is just kind of an example docket number, so you know what one of those looks like. And then now I'm in the actual document, and I can see who the parties are. So this is when Fred Goldman sued O.J. Simpson, and this is the appellant's opening brief. So we can see the lawyers. Here's like a cover sheet, and then the table of contents. So with California, the metadata you can search off of is a little different, and I do know that. What I found this morning when I tested it out is the best thing to do is probably, this is likely how it's going to come up anyway, is to grab the docket number from the opinion and then search by docket number because of the way the metadata is structured. We do not have party names for California as a search function. That is because the donating library, the LA Law Library, that's the way they wanted it. So that is the way they have done it. But you can kind of get around that by searching full text under a search term. If you know what type of document you're looking for, you have tons of options here. So anytime you can narrow things down when you're doing legal research, it will make things easier. And then you can also narrow things down by court. And like I said, the docket numbers vary quite a bit by court. So I'll leave it to you California legal researchers to learn those. But you've got lots of options. Every district in California looks to be represented here. So there's just a lot of good information. And I'll do an exact phrase full text search. Yes, and you can see that case comes right back up again. And then there are probably some others where some case O.J. Simpson was cited and things like that popping up as well. But that is the California Records and Briefs collection. And once again, please remember this is still being digitized. It is ongoing. Michigan is perhaps more of what you would expect. You can search by case citation. So we would look for like the state Supreme Court reporter. These are Supreme Court records and briefs. These are coming from Wayne State. You can search by brief type. It's a freeform search box this time. And then you can search for party name. You could put those, a name in one line, or you could put it in both, whatever you desire. And then you can also search full text. I've been testing it out and it works great. Once again, you're getting party names, what type of brief type we're looking at. Is it a brief? Things of that nature. And then you can click on the party names and it will take you right to the document. And once again, these are really nice scans. Right now, the coverage kind of goes from the 60s to the 80s. This is one of our new records and briefs collections. So once again, hate to sound like a broken record, it is ongoing, but these things are there. And you can see George Romney was a party, a defendant in this case. We've got some docket numbers listed there. And these are nice, clean color scans, so you can really see what the original looked like on LLMC. Now, I said there was one collection that was different, perhaps because of something LLMC did, and of course that would have to be the New York collection. And the reason why it's different is because this was our very first records and briefs collection with Google, and we didn't quite know, we didn't quite have the processes worked out, I guess would be a diplomatic way to put it. So I will give you a quick admonition here. The older stuff is not complete, and that is because the metadata is just not quite right. The way it was structured, the parallel citations kind of mess things up. So some cases you would really hope are in here, like Paul's graph. They're not here. You cannot search these older cases by citation all the time. However, some cases you may have read about in law school are in fact here. Make sure when you enter a citation into the older part of this database, you get rid of these asterisks. It will not process those. Select your reporter, and then put your page number in. I already put the volume in, and then go ahead and submit. And the briefs for that case will come right up. And you can kind of see here, this is a reflection of the fact that this was one of the first records and briefs projects we did. The data is rather rudimentary here, but the information is still there, and that's the good news. So you click on the link, and then you're taken here. So what is exactly going on? Well, again, we were all kind of new at this, so is Google Books. These were all bound together in one volume, and for some reason they decided when they put these online, they wanted to keep those volumes together, even though these are separate cases. I think there are a couple of McPherson's in here, but there's Morey versus Schuster and all these other cases, but that's no matter. We knew we were looking for McPherson versus Buick, and we can click on those page numbers, and then we're taken right to that document right there. So this is a little different. I do hope that this will get cleaned up eventually. We have discussions about this fairly frequently, but it is a rather large undertaking. But the information is there. We recently took a large fiche donation of New York records and briefs and Second Circuit records and briefs. I suspect once we get the ball rolling on that project and we get start to see those materials online, we're going to revisit this collection to clean it up and make it a little more usable. Whoops. So those are the older New York materials. Now the second search box down here, this came from a fiche collection that was absolutely perfect. The scans are great. The metadata was uniform. We actually just grabbed it off the fiche headers. And you can search this. It covers 1966 to 84. You can search for names and what have you. I searched for Mayor Dinkins, and then got tons of results back with case citations, and it's telling me what type of document I'm looking at. The same types of things we saw in the other collections. So that works great. And I do promise when we clean up the older New York materials, we will heavily promote that, so NYLI members know about it. So those are our New York collections. We also have Pennsylvania as well. Right now, the coverage is the 1960s, 70s, and there are a few from the 2000s. These again are ongoing. This is a very new collection within the past year. It just went online, and you can search by citation, brief type, party name, whatever you need to, and then you'll be given, in this one, you're given the party names, and then in brief type, you get the case citation, and then the information you would expect, which is the brief type. And this is just the way the donating library decided to structure that metadata. So like I said, everyone's a little different, but you know, other than the one, they're mostly the same and what you would expect when you get results. And again, these are nice clean scans. This is a pretty old document, but I can tell this was done in color. And then you can get, view the pages right from here. Okay, and then last but not least, excuse me 1 second. You may have noticed this kind of outlier at the bottom of the list, and that is the United States Supreme Court appellate cases. What on earth is this? We have a lot of historical collections on LLMC, and I do a early US historical resources webinar for NYLI, and I often cover some of the same material in my general LLMC informational update with NYLI as well. This is one instance, though, where we have records and briefs that are 100% historical. So what exactly is this collection? Back in the 50s, I think, the National Archives must have noticed somewhere in Washington, D.C., they had all these records and briefs from the beginning of the United States just kind of sitting there, and they, you know, over time are going to deteriorate. And the collection ended up being all the records and briefs from early US history as they came up through the courts and then went to the United States Supreme Court. So most of us probably know, you know, United States Supreme Court's per se records and briefs are pretty easy to find, the stuff that was actually filed in the United States Supreme Court. But what happened to the, you know, what happened to the records and briefs that were filed as they were winding their way up to the Supreme Court? That's what this collection is. So it's a little different than you might expect. And, you know, being a lawyer in 2022, some of these years we didn't have circuit courts of appeals. You just went to the state Supreme Court, and then after that you went right to the federal Supreme Court. So just know to search this, having some historical context, especially on how the US government worked, does help. But that's what these are. So NARA, National Archives, they decided to go ahead and film these. And it's an amazing collection. They filmed them, and then they created index cards for them. And then they just kind of sat there for years. And these are fairly commonly held around the country, but like most microfiche collections, just not used. And so we decided to digitize them at the request of a couple law library directors, because the stuff is important, and more with the composition of the Supreme Court, some of these historical materials are probably going to need to be investigated, because that's just the way legal research is heading now. So we have this guide on LLMC. This is telling you what reporters the cases came from. And for those of you who don't know, back in the old days, we had these things called nominates, and the United States Supreme Court opinions were published in them. So somebody by the name of Dallas published Supreme Court reports, and that was the name of Dallas's reporter. So that's what we're seeing here. There are also typically United States Supreme Court reporter parallel citations for these two, but that is the way this guide is structured. So this gives you pretty good detail on exactly what is covered here. We took the film, there we go, that NARA created, and we took the index cards and we merged the two together to create this online database of historical records and briefs. So what types of things can you find in here, and how do you find things in here? first of all, just know the index cards had these things called file numbers. I don't think you're going to be searching by them, but we kind of left it open just in case somebody had the index cards. It was an internal numbering system for this collection, and you can search by it, but I'm not going to go any further into that now because I doubt you're going to be doing that. What you might do is you might say, hey, I'm interested in stuff that happened as a result of the War of 1812. So I want to see all of the records and briefs from this collection from 1813. And then you can look at everything that was filed or decided in that particular year. There is a lot of interesting history here. There are land disputes between states, politicians fighting with each other. I don't really know what this one is about. I just kind of clicked on it. I should warn you that some of these are manuscripts, so you will have to read old-fashioned cursive if you can. And some of these are a mix. Some of them are actually printed and they're manuscripts. Just so you know, anything that is handwritten is not OCR'd, so there's no full text searching for it. Even Google hasn't developed the technology for that yet. So just know that if you decide to do a full text search within this document, if it is handwritten, that it will not work. But there's a lot of like super useful information here. You can full text search for specific terms. Again, be forewarned, some of these are handwritten, so this may not be a complete search, but it is kind of a shortcut. And you can, search for stuff about ships, like I just did. A lot of the cases here, rather curiously, are about privateers. So the United States would go to war with a country, and then I guess you would get a letter from the government saying, hey, if you see a ship from that country, you can board it and take their stuff. Is essentially what happened. And then people would fight over the stuff that they took. So we see a lot of these cases in here. Ships are mentioned in the party names. I believe this is a ship right here we're looking at. And then you're getting the file number here in the metadata, but these are the types of things you see. And it's just really interesting material if you are a history buff, as I am. There's quite a bit here. And then you can also search by party name, and there's some famous people here. There were also a lot of customs cases. So you can search, oops, I didn't clear, there we go. If you search for, I think it was merchandise, excuse me. Yes, you can see cases of merchandise show up as party names, and those are typically customs cases. I think there might be one with barrels of rum or something along those lines in here. So again, if you're looking for records and briefs of historical cases that eventually made it to the Supreme Court, and by the way, it does not matter whether an opinion was issued. It's just whether anything happened in the Supreme Court with these. They pretty much did everything but the kitchen sink for this collection. This should have something for you. It may not be 100% complete, but I think it's pretty close. And like I said, there are a lot of super interesting things in here. And then last but not least, I'm a little bit ahead on time. Just know that there are some type of like court document type things spread throughout the larger collections. They're going to be historical. So just know that. But it is possible you will see these types of same resources show up in other collections. Like, we've got collections of trial documents and I'm not sure if there's anything here or not. Yeah, I mean, you're going to see things for specific cases show up, you know, maybe some charging documents and things like that. These are all going to be historical, but they do show up in the rest of the collection. Here's 1847 to 1956 Court of Appeals reports, records, and briefs. That is not online yet. Oh, okay, that's a title for the records and briefs collection. That shouldn't be showing up there. But yeah, you can see, you know, individual documents showing up in the rest of our collections. And if you're looking for something like that, just, you know, do a title search, and you can also search our catalog records for those of you who are law librarians. You can search, yeah, you can search all of our catalog records, and those types of documents will show up as well. So let me check my notes and make sure I covered everything. Yeah, I think that's about it. So are there any questions? Okay. Thank you, JT. I want to thank you all for your time. And before I let you go, there. NYLI wanted me to just grab your names, which I did. So just so we can take attendance and know how many people showed up. But yeah, I want to thank you for your time, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. If you have any records and briefs you would like to donate, let us know that as well, of course. As I said, my name is Kurt Meyer. I'm the Assistant Director of Content Development and some other things. My email is kurtm@llmc.com, and my cell number, which is right here, is listed. If you have any questions about content, how to use the website, or like I said, if you are donating briefs or anything historical and you want to run it past me, please do so. And know that we don't just scan things, we also preserve the originals. I think that's important for legal materials, particularly. So thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.